I left Lebanon probably age of 22, 23 at that time, and I was born in Beirut. By the way, Beirut is the capital of Lebanon, and it's a small city and very beautiful and very moderate at that time, and perhaps still now, but used to be more around 60s, used to call the Paris of the East. And my cultural background, I'm Assyrian background, from ancient Assyrian culture. I was born in Lebanon, and my parents were born in ex-Soviet Union. So here you go, it's more like a migration of a culture. But the thing I want to say is the social side of it was really implanted in the family and practiced widely. So therefore, I have inherited that kind of attitude. When we came to Australia here, and then I joined Melbourne Chess Club, used to be next to Victoria Market on a Pill Street. And I saw some of the, some of attitude and behavior of certain members. It wasn't very social. It was more like a campaigning to the max and sometimes argumentative and even a bit aggressive, Yeah, and I don't like that. I don't like that one bit, and I found it very distracting for me because what it do is you be too busy having go personally at the, it became very much personal. Like if you lose a game, you tend to get angry as the opponent. I have people shouting at me or threatening to hit me or something, honestly, because they have, and I was a beginner, The very, very interesting is at that time, when I joined the club, I was more like just a beginner, what we call it in a standard of below 1600. Below 1600 consider a club a post-beginner or beginner, and I tell you what, I have won a few games against strong players at that time, and they were very very angry, and I said, oh man, what's happening? Like what did I do?
Exactly.
All I want to do is just go play chess, and I don't mind losing, really. Look, I don't blame those people that they were very much defensive about them, they're bad losers. I don't blame them because it's part of the practice culture. Predominantly, exactly the same. Everybody walks there like an ant's pants, and everybody wants to win, and everybody looking forward to score a point on the board.
Yeah.
Look, I understand all that. It's a culture, but that culture doesn't go too well with me, really. I understand it. Don't get me wrong. Perhaps I was slightly influenced by it, and I used to go a few times home and say, Elie, that's not you, man. You're beginning to behave like this guy. Let's say after nearly 6-7 years of joining the club, then I realized my behavior changed. To be honest, my behavior changed in the sense that I go home and I think about, hey, listen, I've been a little bit bit rude to that guy,
Bit arrogant. Yeah.
Arrogant, bit rude, and I've been unfair to that guy, what I mean? Because sometimes there was a new people coming to the club, and you tend to, unlike in the past, I would play them in a right manner, you know what I mean? But then again, I became when I beat them and when I do the same what the other guys do, and I used to go home and say, hey, what's wrong with you, man? It's not you, Elie. What's wrong with you?
It's what you used to. You grew up playing socially.
Exactly. It was a 60 degree away from what I have been brought up. And luckily I didn't discuss with my mother. She'd be very upset, I remember my mother, before she passed away, she died of a breast cancer. But the thing is, there was one guy in the Melbourne Chess Club. He couldn't win much in the tournament, and Mum, I was said to her, oh, there's one guy, he doesn't win much, but he plays. And she asked me if I can let him win one game in a tournament. And then I said, what? She said, please do that for me. I said, look, I'll do anything for you. And I went there, and actually I orchestrate that kind of like defeat. And then he was surprised, and everybody was surprised in the club. And I didn't talk about it because it was a special request from my mother. So you have a situation that you tend to sometimes play politics. Then I learned sometimes it's good to be nice to the people. You have two choices. One is to become a self-centered, aggressive player, and then you're not popular, but you're successful maybe more. Or somehow you go out of your way and you tend to go the other path. You go down helping other people. For me, to be honest, knowing the history of the club, that if you're not going, there's no two ways about it. Or you be really helping people, or you're gonna help yourself. It's very hard to find that middle ground. You know what I mean? So I said to myself for last, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 years, I said, no, look, Elie, it's more like repentance. Try to be nice, because I prefer to be loved and popular for future or whatever time holds, instead of being hated. I knew people hate me, but behind my back, because they think I'm too aggressive, and they will hate me behind my back. I heard many people I'll be walking and they were talking about me. Oh, Elie is very arrogant, he's aggressive, he's this and that, and I don't like that. When in a way it didn't hurt me, because
you knew you were better at chessing them.
Sure, then I blamed myself. I said, wait a minute, Elie, you brought that on yourself. I'm talking about the time in the club. I said, look, if you can change all this and try to adopt a new attitude, or take a new way, a better way, because everybody want to be loved and popular. Each one of us, want to be, want to be loved, want to be cared for, people love you. It's a good feeling. Instead of, I don't want to be successful, I want to be loved. Because sometimes you can be successful or whatever you are, but really people hate you. Maybe not in your face straight, but behind your back. They will hate you. There's a hate. You walk in a place and you can say, oh, people can smile to you because you're successful or powerful or strong or influenced. But honestly, deep down in their heart, they hate you. And to be hated by people is a very uncomfortable feeling. This idea of psychology in chess, a lot of chess players think it doesn't exist. It's a myth, you know what I mean? Some other players thinking, oh, psychology doesn't exist. Certain behavior of players towards each other, perhaps towards themselves as well, or the game. There's certain level of psychology involved. And I have, to be honest, I'm a good observer, and I used to observe a lot of players, rather consciously or unconsciously. So, they try to have that kind of psychology to try to have a bit of control the opponent. No, not control. Control is too strong word. Maybe they try to manipulate the opponent into order to maybe reduce their performance, And I'll give you an example. There would be a lot of people do certain things when they sit down and play on a board. Some of them pretend that they have a bad position, and they come up with this body language in order to say, like here, they pretend they are in pain, or they're not happy or unsatisfied about their position, in order to send a message to the opponent that their position is bad and at time their position is good. So this kind of like a psychological games, or they make a move, pretend, oh, they made a wrong move, in order to distract the opponent or play with their mind a bit. So there's a bit of mind games, but like I said, I'm not sure this mind games is during the game itself, or during the competition, or just ordinary friendly game. I'm not sure how strong roots has it. Maybe it's form of like a very much shallow psychology. In other words, when I say shallow psychology, I'm using term by saying maybe unplanted. They did not plan it that way. There's no like a big plan behind it. Perhaps it came on the spur of the moment, in a sense of a human survival in a psychological situation. Can you see the point? In other words, I'm saying is maybe it's not all premeditated. Perhaps it comes like, hey, I want to win and I want to come up with this, that kind of like tic-tac-toe, that kind of things, So, but rather the results of that psychology, I like to say, the down results of that assumed psychology, or that what we call psychology, is the results of it. I'm not sure if it's always positive to the person that he practiced that or she practiced that. Sometimes it can have a very opposite results. So the results of psychology and the impact and on whoever practices it, as use it as a weapon of to win or to have superior position. I'm not sure the results are always satisfactory or clear. Sometimes it's just like a storm in a teacup, for that expression. It's more like I think I'm doing something that can help me, but honestly, if we put all that together, modified it in one box, and we found it's like it's not enough. So there's another psychology is honesty during the game. Like what I mean honesty, if your opponent makes a mistake that you think is like, for example, if he or she they lose a big piece simply by moving that piece, and it destroyed their position and their game. And then what do? If you warn your opponent that, look, this move is a little bit dangerous or not a good one, I think it's good feeling, because you feel here you clear your conscience. Because sometimes, honestly, it's to take a piece from your opponent based on that person, he or she didn't realize the consequences of it. And then you say, oh, look, you can take your move back if you wish. It's a good feeling, because you go home thinking, okay, if he insists that person to say, okay, no, go ahead, and then you clear your conscience. Worst you can do when you go home, thinking of the games that you have played, the game that you should have lost, you won, and you won it in a very silly way, because simply your opponent didn't make the right move. And it's good to win a game that your opponent, blow for blow, he's really, he or she, they're playing pretty good, and they keep going, and the momentum in the tempo and all this. And then what do? You outplay your opponent in the right way. You feel good about it. You feel that, okay, I earned it. I mean, look, bad luck. Somebody has to win out of all this. But for your opponent to blunder and you win out of a simple blunder of your opponent, I don't think it's honorable in a moral sense. What makes a chess player, it's not the psychology itself, to be honest. I mean, to my experience, I think to be creative in order not to rely on deception. Psychology is form of deception, because what are you doing? You try to deceive your opponent in order to have that kind of you have clearance and you have a muddy situation, you have that kind of unclear situation. Now, what you do is in a country, try to clarify your thoughts, try to get better, try to be more creative in order, and stay away from psychology. Psychology is deception up to a point. You cannot win by deception. And I've seen, to be honest, in my experience in a chess circle, I have met very strong players. I don't want to mention names, but honestly, I have seen too many deceivers players or a tricky one. But when it comes to the level of creative in results, on a higher level, they'll fail because deception has a limit. So everybody can be a good liar until the truth come about. When the truth come, all liars, they cannot go above the truth. Sometimes we feel that we know ourselves, we're very confident, we're in control of our destiny and all that. We are sovereign at ourselves. But very strange enough, sometimes you walk in the street and you feel like a pawn. You feel unknown, unheard, a small figure, maybe not much. A pawn is confident, but is a very more of a minor and major. The pawn is a minor king, but he's faceless. His personality, his silhouette is different. The bishop is very fascinated piece. Even in Europe, they call him bishop as evolution of the chess game in Europe. After Persia and India and a certain part, is actually the bishop is elephant, because if you look at the bishop as the way it's designed, you got this kind of like a elephant mouth, and in many cultures they refer to it as to be elephant. Alfil call, alfil. Yeah, even in Spanish they call him, yeah. So it's elephant, but then that elephant became a bishop. That's transformation, of a different culture. And I like bishop. I find him a white bishop for white pieces. It's very. I love bishops. They're pretty good pieces to use. Like more mobile, more dynamic, more aggressive, perhaps more defensive and offensive compared to the knights. Often children are fascinated by knights because the way they jump around and, it's a fascination. But the bishops are more of maybe more mature players, yeah, in my opinion.